Imagine being able to communicate with your friends just by using your mind, and being able to transport yourself from one place to another just by thinking about it, all the time working quietly to save the planet and its people from all manner of invaders and mind controllers. That's the basis of a 1970s UK children's TV fantasy drama that features a group of young people with paranormal abilities. The abilities any school kid watching the show in the 70s would have loved to have had. I know I would. In this episode of the channel, I'm looking at the original series of The Tomorrow People. Writer and producer Roger Price first offered The Tomorrow People to Granada TV, who turned it down, as did Southern TV. Thankfully, Thames TV agreed to take a punt on the show as it was looking for something to rival BBC's Doctor Who. First broadcast in 1973, this science fiction adventure series, which replaced the excellent Ace of Wands in the TV schedules, was light years ahead of anything being broadcast in the weekday tea time slot. Ageless night, careless day, fate reaches out a hand. The Tomorrow People was set in the period it was broadcast, that being the 1970s, and was so successful it put a dent in the audience figures of the hugely popular Blue Peter magazine TV show broadcast by the BBC. Bye-bye. The show's first season was budgeted at £5,000 an episode, about half the cost of an episode of Doctor Who, and the special effects in the show looked like it too. Apparently, those working in the background frequently criticised the show for having lofty technical ambitions compared to the low budget allocated to the series. Anyway, our three adventurers are described in the series as being the next stage of human evolution, the Homo Novus or Homo Superior, a phrase that appears in David Bowie's song Oh You Pretty Things. You gotta make way for the Homo Superior. Apparently, Roger Price and Bowie bumped into each other at some point, maybe in the Thames TV canteen, and one or the other mentioned the phrase to the other and they both used it. Born to human parents, the Tomorrow People would break out during adolescence to develop paranormal skills, including telepathy, telekinesis and teleportation. They'd wear a special belt to help them jaunt from one place to another. Later in the series, the belt, which had many incarnations, was replaced with a wristband. The stars of the first series included Nicholas Young as John, the group's leader, a seemingly perfectly reasonable character who, to be honest, could have passed as an insurance agent.
You don't want to do that, Stephen.
Nicholas was born on June 11, 1949 and appeared in movies such as 1967's To Sir with Love, The Day of the Jackal in 1973 and Home Before Midnight in 1978. His other TV roles include period drama Upstairs Downstairs, Crown Court, and he played the character Franz Hoss in the 1981 Nazi criminal series Kessler.
Michael Rach.
He also appeared in 2 episodes of the 2013 US reboot of The Tomorrow People, playing Aldous Crick in episode 8, and was seen in Gerry Anderson's Space 1999. Peter Vaughan Clark, known to his friends as PVC, got the role of Stephen.
Carol? John? Carol, can you hear me?
He went on to appear in the period drama The Pallisers, detective series Shoestring, the period drama The Duchess of Duke Street, and the 1975 film It Could Happen to You. Having put acting behind him, Peter moved backstage, working in the theatre as a lighting technician, designer and director. However, in 2001, he featured in the Tomorrow People audio dramas. Peter Vaughan Clark was born June 11, 1957 and left us on August 7, 2023, aged just 66.
This wasn't like the other stuff. This was more substantial.
The third member of the original team is Carol, played by Sammy Windmill. She got the job of head of actress and model Lynn Frederick, who went on to marry comedian Peter Sellers. Sammy was born on November 28, 1948 and was known for playing Nurse Crumpton in the Doctor at Large sitcom. She signed a 3-year contract for the Tomorrow People, but left after just 1 year.
Hello. I'm Carol. I have to go soon.
She's quoted as saying she was worried about being typecast and said she quit the show too soon. In a 2001 interview, she said her main lines of dialogue were, "John, look out!" and that she wanted to do more.
What a day.
Sammy has appeared in The Duchess of Duke Street, the action series The Professionals, and Sammy is a member of the Template Foundation, a spiritual movement that aligns with her interest in the psychic mind. Perhaps Sammy is a real homo superior after all. The fourth member of the original lineup was Kenny, played by Stephen Salmon. Born in South London, he was discovered by Roger Price at a youth club drama workshop.
Anything you say, officer. Hey, that's it.
He was just 14 years old when he got his big break, but rules over how many hours children could work limited the amount of time he could be used in the show. It's one of the reasons why he is rarely seen outside of the studio.
I think you better get down here.
Come on, let's go.
Not so fast, Kenny. One of us has got to stay here.
Yeah, but it's always me.
Stephen appeared in 1 season of The Tomorrow People before deciding that acting wasn't for him.
Cheer up, Kenny. It's not as bad as all that.
I suppose not.
He left the limelight behind and went on to become an electrical engineer. Actor Philip Gilbert was the voice of Tim, the all-knowing computer, and was one of 2 actors to appear in all the episodes of the original series in the 1970s, the other being Nicholas Young. The computer, made up of globes in the ceiling of the set, featured moving colours. These came from a projector that featured a slowly spinning glass wheel of coloured oils. Anyone going to a disco in the 1960s and 70s would recognise them, as they were popular in the clubs of the day.
We must acknowledge that the power of good exists.
To be honest, whenever I think of the Tomorrow People, my first thought is not of any of the characters, but Tim, the computer, a talking computer. No flashing lights, no reel-to-reel tape machines spinning backwards and forwards like they did in the 1960s movies whenever a computer was shown. This was a very simple idea, a talking computer that was up in the ceiling, and you could have a conversation with it.
Any ideas on who the 2 blokes were, Tim?
No. But I'm fairly certain why Stephen has been kidnapped.
I suppose the nearest we got to this previously was in the film 2001 A Space Odyssey, where we had a more sinister talking computer that disrupted a space mission.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Here, of course, Tim is a fatherly figure, a very helpful character within the show. And of course, remember, in 1973 and throughout the 1970s, there were no smartphones, tablets or PCs at home. Of course, the idea was so good, it was picked up and used in the Blake 7 TV series.
Now perhaps you will tell me how to manipulate the controls.
Manual operation is not possible without full pilot training. Automatic navigation and control computers will respond to certain voice patterns.
With 4 youngsters plus Tim the computer, the show has been compared to Enid Blyton's The Famous Five, which featured 4 young people and a dog called Tim.
Don't worry, George. You can rely on us. We won't reveal your secrets. You promise? We promise.
On the head of Timmy.
During the course of the series, our heroes tackled numerous villains. From the mystical and spiritual to alien invaders, the Tomorrow People overcame them all during the course of 8 seasons. Apart from the usual fare of baddies, the Tomorrow People's storylines included espionage, time travel, and adult themes, such as in the series called Hitler's Last Secret.
We're the stormtroopers, and this is our place, see? And we don't let people in here unless they're dressed proper. Don't know what you mean.
Here, the team investigate a sudden craze by teenagers to wear Nazi uniforms. Apparently, this was to reflect the rise of punk rockers seen in the late 1970s, but looking at it now, I think it goes a bit deeper than that, to be honest. In the living skins, aliens transformed into plastic jumpsuits that would control and eventually kill the millions of people who wore them. The 1974 adventure, The Blue and the Green, saw humanity divided by a craze to wear blue or green badges.
I still don't know what a blue or green is, or what the difference is supposed to be.
Why, everything. If you're a green, you're going to find the blues, and
I still don't see why.
because they're blues, of course.
Now, the popularity of the book, The Chariots of the Gods, the idea that stories of gods coming from the sky in ancient times were really aliens arriving in UFOs, was the basis of Worlds Away.
I thought the pyramids were built by the pharaohs of ancient Egypt.
But they didn't build them.
And who did?
The Kultan, of course.
And an episode in 1977 saw the devil raised, thanks to a particular beat played by Flintlock drummer and teen heartthrob Mike Holloway. He joined the show in its 4th series as the 5th member of the Tomorrow People to play the character Mike Bell. The producers hoped his appeal would boost the show's ratings. Not only that, it did give the band Flintlock a short boost too. The band's only chart hit was Dawn, and it got to number 30 in 1976.
Now let's get on with the show and meet our next guest, someone who's been in the Tomorrow People. Look out for him now on Flintlock.
The Tomorrow People's futuristic music was written by Dudley Simpson and gave the show a unique feel. Kettle drums rolled into the sound of a synth as the opening sequence of Hands and Faces flashed up on the screen. Now, a video reviewing the Tomorrow People could go on for hours. After all, it ran from 1973 to 1979 and featured dozens of actors and storylines. Safe to say, the show was an exciting series for pre-teens in the 1970s and featured some great storylines. Based on what I've read, numerous clouds covered the original series in its last year. There were industrial strikes, inflation, a lack of available studio time, and complexities over more intricate space battle scenes, as Star Wars had raised the bar. The Tomorrow People has continued on in one way or another ever since, demonstrating the basic concept is sound. Books, comic strips, radio-style plays featuring some of the original cast, and TV reboots, one in 1992 and another in 2013, have continued the show's legacy. Now, with 3 TV series under its belt, you might wonder whether the Tomorrow People ever made it to the big screen. Well, no, it didn't, but there's a film that came out in 2008 based on Stephen Gould's 1992 novel Jumper, which has got nothing to do with the local knitting circle, but has everything to do with teleportation. Well worth a look.
How'd you last this long, huh? Who's helping you?
In 2005, a documentary about the Tomorrow People was released. Beyond Tomorrow features interviews with many of the original cast. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this quick look at the 1970s series, The Tomorrow People. My name is Steve Hart and you've been watching the channel. I'll be back soon with a review of another popular movie or TV show. Please do like, share and subscribe. Cheers for now. I'll see you next time.